live. So welcome back to Odd Couple Costa Rica, where we bring you the best information about living in Costa Rica. And today, boy, do we have a good one for you, because at some point in time, you need this information. Hey, do you rent? And that could be some problems. Hey, do you buy? There's tons of stuff for sale. Do you buy an existing house, or do you simply build your dream? Well, we're going to find out more about that this week. But hey, if this is your first time here, I'm Alan Richard with Off the Grid Homestead in Costa Rica, and that's my co-host right over there,
Michal Alan for TravelCostaRicaNow.com. Man, the way you present, dude, I just want to go in the red corner. Michal Alan, mucho más.
Sound like
you got a way about you. You got a way about you, Alan. Cheers.
Well, I like to have fun. Life is too short to not have fun.
Well, we were talking before we started, and I heard the word. I've never heard you even say this word. You said you had a kind of a hellish week. You need to explain yourself. What happened?
I did. I had hell week. Tell me something. It's kind of like New Year's resolutions. You decide that you're going to do something, and you make this resolution that you're going to do something, and then it's like everything in the world goes against you to kind of break that. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, it's called living in Costa Rica.
Well, last week, Rebecca and I did a live broadcast talking about adapting to life in Costa Rica and the things that, and I'm kind of pretty much declaring that we're adapting, doing a pretty good job. And then all of a sudden, hell week broke out, man. I'm telling you, if it could go wrong, it went wrong. And I really dealt with two things that just kind of went nuts, one about, and I don't want to get into all that. And the whole thing was that the Tico set it up wrong, okay? And he put it in some other email address instead of mine, and it still ain't resolved, and it will take forever to resolve that thing. Well, the other thing is really simple. I guess we ought to talk about it someday, but I just simply bought a package from Amazon, okay? Put my address on it like I had in the past. I'm watching the tracking, okay? Well, they ship it via DHL. Well, December 5th, it has arrived in San Jose. Every day, it's arrived. It's still, I'm like, why isn't it moving? It's supposed to come to Buenos Aires. Why isn't it moving? I'm trying to call. Well, this is my fault. I don't know Spanish, and I'm trying to call, and they're they talk. Well, I'm punching numbers. Click here. I finally get a hold of somebody. Hablo inglés, por favor. Click. They hang up. Click. So I 2 or 3 days in a row, I'm trying to get someone at DHL to find out where's my package. Never did get it. Big shout out to our friend Johnny, though. Called Johnny. Johnny made a phone call for me. Why is my package in San Jose? He says, no, the package is in San Isidro. I'm like, the tracking says it's in San Jose. I go all the way to San Isidro. It's still 2 hours away. Pick it up, only to find out it's been sitting in San Isidro for stinking since December 5th. Yet the tracking says it's in San Jose, and I'm going through hell trying to find, and I can't talk to them. It's just, I'm like, well, how long you had it? Oh, it's been here December 5th. Well, why does the tracking say San Jose? Oh, well, because it's a San Jose province. I said, does that make any sense at all?
I got that story too, and that's a whole nother podcast about the mail system here. I've had problems with
definitely need to talk about the mail system.
Debit cards, all kinds of stuff. So I feel your pain on that, man. I feel your pain.
Yeah, but hey, how was your week?
That's what Shelly just said. You should have went through Pablo. You wouldn't have got it sooner. You would have got it sooner.
Yeah, you're probably right. Should have used Pablo, but hey, it's a good thing, buddy Johnny. Matter of fact, I'm gonna be talking to Johnny here real soon, and we're gonna be doing a video because Johnny's a good man. When you're in a bind and you need some help, he can help you, especially when we're talking about hospitals and stuff. But anyway, how was your week, brother?
Well, just so you're clear, if it wasn't for Johnny, I would have never got my business banking, my business and nothing. I've talked about it a couple of times. We didn't need to go there, but man, without Johnny, I wouldn't have a business. Anyway, well, I'm not going to talk about my week, but I do want to go back last week and make a couple comments because I got a couple DMs to me. And some people were a little pissed about our mentions of limon. And I want to make something clear if I didn't make it. Well, I obviously didn't make it clear last week. When we're talking about Costa Rica, we're kind of zooming out and looking macro at it. And so when we were talking, anybody wasn't here last week, we were talking about like homicides, murder rate, crime as it relates to Costa Rica. And we were kind of doing more of a macro look. And so limon happens to be not, it's got a lot of crime. Now, we should have made it clear when you start zooming in closer, it's not like whole limon it's in pockets. It's like anything. If somebody says, "Oh, Chicago is crime ridden," yes, parts of Chicago, that small percentage that screws up the rest of the city. Well, limon is kind of like that. Yes, it's not whole limon. Okay, and somebody said, "Man, you screwed up our tourist industry." I was like, wait a minute. That's another thing. I don't send people to Limon for a few reasons. But anyway, as it relates to crime, we were doing a kind of an overview of Costa Rica. We weren't really going neighborhood. Although we mentioned some neighborhoods, maybe in San Jose, we were doing a zoom out and kind of saying where the crime happened to be in the big pockets around Costa Rica and why, Limon being a port area. But again, maybe it's just in this little port area. Maybe there's this little neighborhood. I'm going to do a video soon about a little neighborhood in La Fortuna. It's not even an eighth of a mile long, and it's our worst neighborhood. But it's not like all La Fortuna's like that. So I understand what they were trying to say, and I want to apologize for trying. Because if I wanted to live in Limon, I would. If I want to live in Punta Arenas, where they also say there's some crime problems, I would. Because I would make sure I'm in the right place, doing the right things to secure me. So I just want to apologize if people think I'm just like totally bagging on Limon. Because I do understand that there can be a very small percentage that's making it look bad for other people. The other thing I want to say is I have lived here 18 years and I can comment on Tico culture. Don't you ever tell me, you know who I'm talking to, that I cannot talk about culture. All right. This is not the States. If I want to talk, if I have experience. Now, my experience is there's two different things I look at. I do not judge a whole culture by one person. Every situation I get myself in is a different experience. I might have had a bad experience with this person. I'm not going to say, oh, I had a bad experience with him. He's this ethnicity. It's this culture. They must all be like that. I don't do that. But I can make generalizations if I want. I've lived here long enough to have kind of the. So don't tell me that I can't have an opinion, and don't tell me because I'm gringo that I don't understand. I do.
Mike, I want to jump on that bandwagon. Can I jump on that wagon for a moment?
This is my part, dude. Get out. No, go ahead. Yeah.
Look, maybe that same guy who attacked you, attacked me, said the exact same thing. And I'm like, and jumped all over my case because I said the majority of the Ticos are poor. And jumped on my case, telling me I didn't know what I was talking about, that the Ticos have a minimum monthly salary of $650 a month. We're the richest Latin American country. I'm like, dude, you really think $650 a month is not poor? You think that's money? I mean, look, this year in January, 25 states, I think, will raise the minimum wage. Some of them up to like $16 an hour. But there's 20 states that will keep it at $7.25, and at $7.25, that's still making almost twice as much than what he's claiming the Tico minimum salary is. So, like, dude, you've been in Costa Rica way too long if you think $650 a month is not poor. I don't know.
Well,
who wants to? I mean, tell me, would you be happy only living in Costa Rica on $650 a month? Would you be happy?
Now, let's not pretend that they can't be happy.
That's right.
They can be happy. But that doesn't mean that's a lot of money.
That's right. Doesn't mean it's a lot of money. And there's a whole lot of people who want to say, well, define poor. I'm not poor. I'm rich in health. Well, okay, we're talking about money here. $650 is not a lot of money.
Okay, I'm not going to get back into the States too much, but it's the same where you're not allowed to. This is a small minority. Oh, you're white. You don't understand black.
That's
okay,
right.
I'm not black. I'm also not this, or this. But again, I've lived in Costa Rica long enough where I can have opinions. Now you can change them. I'm not saying my opinion's right. I'm not
Right.
change my mind, but I can make
I want to
judgments.
hear. Tell me. I want to hear.
I'm an individual. I'm a human, and I have freedom of speech, and I will say whatever the freak I want, and I'll judge anybody. If I individually, when they say, "Oh, you don't have a right to judge," if I know you personally, I will judge the shit out of you. Seriously.
You're supposed to judge. Why are you supposed to judge? It's like, dude, that Michael character, he's not a good character. I've been watching his actions. That's not the kind of guy I want to hang around with. Yeah, you're supposed to judge.
Yeah, but now if I don't know you, I don't judge.
A different story, right?
When I hear gossip about somebody, I don't know that person. It could be lies. I don't know. Maybe it's out of context. I don't make any judgments. But I'm going to say what I always say because I don't argue on the internet. If I feel like having fun one night and somebody has a sarcastic comment, I will. I'm pretty witty myself, and if you want to attack me that way, I can play. But I don't do it much anymore after years of making videos. But what I do say is anytime anybody wants to debate me on video about the issue they have with me, let's do it. And I'll do it on.
I hear you.
I'll do it anything. And you get to pick the subject. You get to pick the subject and bring your A game. And that's what I tell people. So these little comments underneath videos of nameless, faceless people making fun of me or throwing stones at me. Okay, fine. You're in your basement eating macaroni and your mom wants you to come up and make your bed or whatever.
Yeah, you're right.
Shut up. So
you're right.
I wanted to get that off, but I did want to do a shout out with Limon because I do understand what they were saying. It's not all of Limon. It's not all of Punta Arenas. It's not all La Fortuna or Chicago or San Francisco. There's pockets. There's issues everywhere. It doesn't have to mean you generalize the whole city as being, oh my God, it can never go to Limon. So my apologies.
That's right. Absolutely. I agree. And see, it's just like Marilyn said, there's judgment and then there's discernment. That's the loophole I use. Hey, you call it discernment, judgment. You use discernment. You got to make wise decisions. So, hey, well, let's get into it, man. Are you ready? Let's talk about it.
Actually, I want to go back to this. I say we just keep going with this judgment. Come on. Let's go.
Well,
all right, man. Let's go.
I can see we could have a lot of fun with that. Definitely. So, hey, we are talking about, because look, at some point in time, every single one of you, and you're here today because you're trying to get the information. You're here today because you realize, that, hey, we have some good information. We have the experience. And so we're trying to help you to get the information you need so that you can make the right decisions. So you can judge for yourself what you should do. So, hey, Mike, I think you'll agree with me. Whenever you're trying you're researching Costa Rica, it'd be the stupidest thing in the world to just come down here and buy a house. I mean, if you're not 100% certain you're going to live here, you most definitely ought to at least rent and move around to several different places for at least a year or two. Don't you think?
I totally disagree, Alan. No, I'm just kidding.
I
totally agree with you. The only time this is a difference, and I used to say this in the videos, I am never talking, when I do videos, I am never talking to people with gobs of money because that changes everything. I'm talking to people like you and me and people that maybe retirement, they got some money, maybe even more than most, but not rich. If you have money and you can do indiscriminate, hey, I want a house here, I want a car over there, do you, brother, do you. But for the most part, I know, what's happening now. I don't know if you know this, but a lot of people are buying on the internet, have never been to Costa Rica, and are buying houses. Yep. Not a lot. I'm just saying it happens, but we know where that usually goes.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's not wise, but hey, Rebecca says it all the time, because Costa Rica does have challenges, but you know what? Money solves a multitude of issues.
Right. It also, actually, I'm going to push back on that. I think it might make more problems in your life, but that's just me. But anyway, I get you.
Yeah, I think it can, especially if you got more money than you got sense.
Yeah.
So
I don't know.
anyway,
go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Well, let's break these down a little bit so we can kind of keep a semblance. Maybe
Yeah.
start out with. I think we would again both agree. And you know what's funny? I know a lot of people are watching this. Go, why are you even making this video? We all agree with you. Maybe not all of you, but doesn't it make sense? Even if you've been to Costa Rica a couple times, think you might want to live here, you aren't quite sure, that you should probably come down here, travel around, see where you want to be, maybe do some 3 months renting, 6 months renting, or maybe you like an area and you're like, I think it's here that we want to stay. Do you really need to buy a house right now? Do you need it right now? Isn't the better option, because you still haven't been in Costa Rica long enough, not even that area. Maybe you haven't been in Costa Rica long enough, and maybe it makes a little more sense to rent, maybe for a year,
And
maybe
so
2 years.
about that. Let's think about that financially, right? Financially, because I tell people, in my opinion, you need to rent. You say, yeah, I like La Fortuna and I want to buy a house there. Well, how about renting for at least 1 year in La Fortuna? 1 year. Why? So you can feel the whole season. You've gone through the dry season, you've gone through the rainy season, and at least 1 year. And it's like, hey, after 1 year, because come on, I mean, how much is rent going to be? Well, you and I know that. I mean, you're renting, I don't know, under $300 a month. Most of the places I've lived at, under $300 a month. How much money are you going to spend? You know what? $3,000 just so that you can find out whether you really like the place before you end up spending $250,000, $500,000. So, but at the same time, so yeah, rent for at least a year, and then if you really want to buy. But when is it right that maybe you should consider renting forever?
Well, okay. First of all, let's go back to what you just said. The littlest thing can upset you about the location you're at. You may not like the fact that there's too many tourists around. You may not like the fact, man, it rains too much. Oh, it's a little too humid here. Oh, I can't find the food I want, or I don't know. I don't really care. I'm not really bonding. There's no gringos here really. It could be a million different things that might go, yeah, I kind of like the place, but there's some other things that I was looking to hopefully have, and it's not here. It's not here. So
exactly.
So just don't think that it's just, it could be maybe two little things. And some people want to be around gringos. Well, I'm telling you right now, La Fortuna, although there's gringos here, we're really not that connected like some other places, like Nosara, Nueva Arenal. They have organized groups. So
San Isidro has several expat communities. They got one favorite restaurant. They come together once a week or once a month to connect.
Yeah, and so if you're looking for that, and you're like, well, but Fortuna doesn't really offer that unless you're going to start it, I guess, which you could. But I'm just saying, don't forget, there could just be, even though you like that area, maybe there's some other things. Oh, I'm not close enough to a hospital. Maybe you start having some health issues. You're like, I should probably maybe not be here. Now, what if you just freaking you sunk in $400,000? That's just for the house and all the other stuff that comes with buying a house. And you start having some health problems. And yet now the treatment's in San Jose. The best doctor for you is in, San Jose. So there's just a multitude of reasons why renting for a while just makes sense to me. I don't know. Maybe it's just
right. It does make sense. And look, I mean, I can't add nothing to that because you hit every nail on the head. And that's the reason I say, hey, 1 year, you will know whether that place is good for you or not. But there is one scenario that we didn't discuss. When is it better for you to always rent instead of buying and instead of building a house? When is that scenario perfect? That person should just, hey, you really should just rent.
Well, when your name is Michal Alan, because I will never buy. I love renting, and for a few reasons. It's not like that, hey, pass down a house to my son or something. It's not really that. I like the fact that if I make a life choice and I want to change the way I live, I can do it in 20 minutes, dude. I can do it in 20 minutes. I can go, hey, man, I'm going to go live in San Isidro de General. And I'm like, I can be there tomorrow, packed up.
That's
so
right.
I kind of like that because in my prior life, all I did was accumulate things.
Right.
Too many things. The best things in life aren't things. So I kind of started realizing that quite a long time ago. I had all that stuff. I don't want all that stuff. So I just I don't want to accumulate land. I don't want to do any of that, but I do understand why people do. So I'm not saying you shouldn't ever buy or build. By all means, I'm just saying there are so few of us out there that are going the opposite direction, and renting works very, very well for a lot of us.
And so there's several other scenarios. So stop and think about this. Now, remember, if you got bukus of money, then the scenario that Michael just put out there is a great scenario. It doesn't matter whether you have a whole lot of money or not, but you want the freedom to be able to up and go when you want to. Because if you buy, well, you know what? It's easy to buy in Costa Rica. It's hard as hell to sell once you've bought in Costa Rica. Okay. So you can't just get up and leave in the next day or week. Okay. So another scenario is, hey, depending on your age, you might be stinking 70 years old, 60 years old, and maybe you don't have a nest egg, but you've got plenty of retirement. Well, if you don't have a nest egg, well, then you're probably not going to buy, even though you can find some good things. And you know what? Sometimes whether you have a nest egg or not, it's better for you to rent, because guess what? You can rent and then you can use your nest egg to just really enjoy Costa Rica and just, travel around and go see what you want to see. But then you can come rent. And then if you decide that, you know what, hey, I've been renting down there by the border of Panama. Now I want to go rent by the border of Nicaragua. Hey, I'm going to go rent next to Michal Alan and check him out, Hey, because I have money to enjoy life, but you know what? I don't want to spend my nest egg on a house, and then I'm living paycheck to paycheck with my rent, and it's better for me just to enjoy life. So you do have several scenarios to where renting is just far better than actually buying or building.
Yeah, well, I also like the renting for me is because kind of what you're saying. I have very little responsibility for this house. I don't have to worry about it. And everything I do, every decision I make, all I ask myself, is this going to give me more time for me or less time for me? When I say me, I'm not trying to be selfish. I'm saying
me.
For me to do the things I want to do. Can I go over here and do this thing that I want to do? Can I volunteer over here? Can I paint my picture, write my book? So to me, every decision I do is like, even when I got the car, I was like, do I really? That's gonna, I got all these things to purchase and the taxes. I got to do this. I got to do that. I don't know. I go the opposite way. I'm trying to create more time to do the things I want to do, and I have to. Do I want to make more money? Even that kind of thing. So I kind of look at it like that. But again, I totally understand, and we're going to get into it. Obviously, why people either A, choose to build, or B, buy a pre-existing house or whatever. So I totally get it. I'm just saying there's a little group of us that maybe you're going for more of a simplified. I like my time. I want to read my book, and I don't want to worry about, oh my God, I got a plumbing problem, and I got to do this thing. I got to paint the house. I don't got to paint shit. I don't got to fix shit. So.
And so, and that makes a huge difference. And I see there's quite a few questions. So I do want to remind you that, you know what, we'll try to answer some of these questions. But if for some reason we get into this because it's lots of great information and we don't get to answer your question, there will be Q&A right after this. So right after we shut this down at 10 o'clock, we'll start Q&A. That way I can be sure to answer every single question and work out some of these things if you got questions. So
can we pop up this one real quick? I want to answer this like really fast. I think Alan did it, but right now it's not cost effective. They're giving 180 days. There is absolutely no reason, none, zero, listen to me, to get a nomad visa. Zero. Okay, done.
I'm pushing back. I got my digital nomad visa. No.
Yeah, but that was before. I mean,
you're right.
Maybe makes sense.
I'm not. I'm teasing.
Zero sense.
Yeah, I'm teasing. I'm not pushing back. See, whenever I got my digital nomad visa, I had to go out stinking every 90 days. That sucked, man. Well, like Michael said, it's 180 days. Really, come on. You wasted money. Just get your residency. It's a lot better.
Yeah, or do the 180 for a while. For what? Once a year. Come on, man. Come on. No nomad. Okay, next question. Let's get it out of here.
Yeah. So anyway, so hey, okay, so let's talk about okay, we talked about renting and those options of renting. Okay, there are lots of things that happen when renting, though.
Did we hit all the advantages of renting, though? Just, I mean,
No,
your time.
that's what I was just getting
You can
at.
cruise around. You know.
Let's kind of talk about. Let's talk about. I like to end on a good note because people like to say we sometimes, oh, you just bashing Costa Rica. No, I'm not bashing Costa Rica. We want to give the pros and the cons so that you can make a good decision. So let's talk about the pros and cons. Okay. So let's talk about the cons because I want to end with the good stuff, right? So one of the bad things about renting is that you can't control your environment. And you guys, if you've been listening to me, you know I'm really big on CYE, control your environment. Well, when you're renting, you normally can't control your environment. You can't control the neighbor next door to you who when you got there had one dog, now he's got 15. Okay. Or, you know, their daughter just turned 15 years old and now she got a big speaker and every Friday night she's playing. You can't control your environment. Now, the deal is, well, Alan, I'll just go rent a house in the middle of 3 acres. Well, if you do that, that's going to cost you an arm and a leg because that's typically a gringo who bought a hectare. He built a house. Now he's moved. Now he's renting it. And it will cost you an absolute fortune to rent that kind of house. So the cons are you can't control your environment. And most of the time when you're renting, you're going to rent in a family environment. Okay. And that's tough. So how about some other cons, Michael? It looks like you got something on your camera.
I don't know what happened.
Michael, you got a lizard on your camera.
It was a gnat. Well, you kind of said it, and it's happened to, you know, even with buying you actually that you can't control your environment is probably all encompassing because it's neighbors, it's what's happening, what could happen in the neighborhood, how they zone, what they're doing. You might in La Fortuna, you could have a bar next to you, you know, in some places and you don't even know. So that's a lot of it. I know D'Angelo has my ex-partner or whatever business partner has, you know, his house. You know, it was private at one time. Now he's got people all over. And what happened? I'm not making fun of anybody. I'm just telling you the reality of his situation. He had some land next to him that he wanted to buy, actually, 2 lots over. So somebody bought it. And it was some Nicaraguans, nothing bad about Nicaraguans. They're worker bees here and all that kind of stuff. Well, they started building 3 little houses on this little property. It's not really made for 3 little houses. And now there's, you know, 79 people living there. Okay, not 79, not 79. But, you know, again, just now you can't control that. Nothing's wrong with that. You're allowed to do that here. I'm not saying anybody's doing anything illegal necessarily. I'm just saying what you said, you can't control that. And now, how do you know, maybe he wants to rent his house on Airbnb or whatever, and it's not, I don't know. There's all kinds of stuff, but you can private. Okay, D'Angelo is going to get mad if he sees me saying that, but he could privatize his house more so people, you know what I mean? So
right, you can. But now, and so he could put concrete walls up all around it. Now he's got his house in his own prison, right? So you can't.
Damn, dude. You're not helping. You're not helping. No, you can make beautiful. Actually, you can make beautiful.
You really can.
You know,
yeah, you really can. You can put up fencing and you can put floor off there, and so you can. It'd take a little work, but you can see. So that's the cons, right? But hey, when we talked about a lot of the pros, the pros of renting is just simply you can get up and go whenever you want to. You get tired of the stinking 72 Nicaraguans living next door to you, you pick up, move.
Hey, let's really quick talk about the renting contracts real quick. I've never really, I think one time maybe I had a rental contract. The renters here's the kind of the problem. The people that rent have the better rights. So it's almost implied, even if you do not have a contract, you can stay in a place for 3 years. You just you just can. Now, most gringos aren't going to fight that. They're like, I don't know, man. But if you want to, if somebody's like trying to raise your rent, you know, in like after a year.
And look, that almost always happens. It almost always happens. You know, hey, of course, I think most people know we've rented in over 25 different houses. And over 25 different houses, I think we had only 2 contracts. And the only reason we had those 2 contracts is because those were Ticos who went to the United States and they're like, oh, a contract? I should do that. most Ticos are not going to have you sign a contract, but you're absolutely right. In every single house we were in, after the first year, they want to raise the rent. Oh, it's a law. We have to raise the rent. I says, well, good. I've done all this work for free. And you know what? I'm not going to raise the rent, and I'm going to leave, and I'm going to tell everybody not to rent your house because you're a stinking con man. So,
it's funny because most of my neighbors, the last, I don't know, 10 years I've been renting, and I've been in about 3 or 4 different places in the, 13 years. Most of my neighbors leave in the middle of the night. They're all Ticos, they're like packing it up in the evening. They're out, and that house is zero. So, contracts, even if you have a contract.
Yeah, it means nothing.
I don't know. It doesn't.
Yeah. Having a contract means nothing. But the important thing, here's the important thing, because this has happened to me a few times and just really, really just pissed me off, was that they tried to force me out. Okay. And I didn't know back then that the law said that I can stay there 3 years. As long as I'm paying my rent, and I'm not causing a problem, I can stay there 3 years. Now, that doesn't mean that the owner can't give you a living hell every single day. And if he does, well, then all I got to do is call the cops, and then he'll probably stop. But so it's important. If you found a place you like, the guy tries to increases the rent, or he tries to force you to leave. I sold your house. Oh, okay. It's too bad you sold the house. In 3 years, when I decided to leave, then they can take ownership of it. Duh.
Most gringos, to be honest, though, I've run into this numerous times with renters, other friends that they're not going to call the cops. They're not going to make waves in another country for the most part. Really. They do have rights. They could stay there. Do you want to really get a lawyer? Probably not. So you're probably going to end up moving, probably. But if you wanted to, like, hey, I got this place. I love it. I'm not moving. It's a good price. If you wanted to fight it, you could. I'm just saying.
Yeah. Hey, I think that's all of the pros and cons. Let's get into, hey, should you buy an existing house? When you get an existing house, and because look, I'm a builder, okay, I've got experience, and if you've seen as many places as I have, there's a ton of houses on the market. Okay, now when I say a ton of houses on the market, there you can buy a ton of Tico houses, you can buy a ton of expat houses. Expats that came here made the mistake of buying and said, crap, Costa Rica ain't for me, and then they still trying to sell their house 10 years later. So here's the you can buy a house. Now, if you like we said before, if you got plenty of money, do what you want to do you. But if you buy an existing house, the thing is that here's the most important thing that you need to know. I can bake you a cake. Once I bake that cake, man, I can put frosting on it, and I can put a candle on it, and I can give it to you, and it looks beautiful. But when you cut that cake open and get you a slice, it's dog crap on the inside. Okay,
Alan, watch yourself.
I almost said it, and so the takeaway here is that, and look, I'm not banging on Ticos. Hey, look, kudos to a Tico. He will build a house, and he will build it out of sticks and stones and clay. And by the time he has covered it up with paint and everything, look, some of these look beautiful. It is not built correctly. It's built functionally. I'm not saying it's not built right. I'm not saying it's built wrong. It's functional. It works. So he could sell you a house and probably want $250,000 for something that you could build for less than 10 grand. Okay. So my point is, once a house is already built, you don't know what's underneath it. And in Costa Rica, they don't have to disclose to you how many cracks are in the foundation, or even if it has a foundation. They don't have to disclose to you what kind of sewage system's in it. So when you buy an existing house, you open up a humongous can of worms, and you don't know what kind of worms are in there.
Yeah, but still, if somebody's going to get a house and they don't know anything or very little about building, they got to go pre-existing route. So as long as they do their homework on whatever house they're interested in. But I've noticed since I was doing real estate a little bit, so I've noticed that people searching out houses in Costa Rica, the ones that they've been kind of drawn to are usually ones that are more Western, we'll say, more modern, not so much Tico. And if they do buy an existing Tico house, a lot of times they're changing it up quite a bit. No, again, but we usually like what we like, and we're used to the, Western building, type of thing. And we don't have to get into that. I'm just saying maybe it's more of like, if you're going to buy a house, it's more like pre-existing or build. And to me, if you don't know anything about building, it's just that I've almost never seen that work out. It just doesn't. So you got to go pre-existing, but there's a lot of things you need to look for with if you're going to go pre-existing, like you're saying. I mean, you got to have somebody helping you getting that house checked out and all that kind of stuff. But that's why I said most people are looking for more of a modern kind of, even in Fortuna. Now, you would think modern, everyone gets modern on the beach. Everyone's buying the condo on the beach or the big house on the hill that's $1 million. But in my area that people are looking at outside of Chichagua, a lot of times, I'm not saying they don't buy that Tico house with all that land, but I just noticed a lot of people seem to be drawn more to more of a modern build.
You're right. And of course, that kind of goes back to what you just said a while ago. Doug says, hey, we bought land 15 years ago. We built a house 8 years ago. If we were to do it again, we would rent, even if we had to pay $3,000 a month. So, hey, this is an expat that's been here, and he's like, well, he built the house. Goes back to what you said, right? So, and we'll talk about some of those challenges here in a moment. So, but like Michael said, so hey, the pros. Well, let's talk about the cons first, okay? Which I think the cons of actually buying an existing house is that you better have someone to help you look at this existing house. Hey, if you want someone to help you look at an existing house, if I'm available, you can hire me to go look at that existing house, give you my expert opinion on whether this is a good house or not. Okay. People do that. Okay. Hey, I can't go to all areas, but there are expats that used to be house inspectors. I know a house inspector over in Jaco, Playa Hermosa. And so, you know what? He's retired, but you know what? If someone wants to hire him to go inspect a house, he can do that. So if you are more on, I want to buy an existing house, right? Then okay, get you, like Michael said, you need to know, you need to get someone to look for you. So the cons are you can buy dog crap that's covered up with some icing and you don't know it. So that's the biggest con, okay, into an existing. But like Michael said, if you're buying more Western type houses, it's not going to be as bad. It still may not be to what you're used to in the United States or where you're coming from. What other cons are there?
Well, I think the biggest con, even more than that, is should you even be freaking buying a house? Anything. What are you doing? I'm still going to maintain. Yes, I get this every time. People go, but Michael, we bought it when we had never been to Costa Rica and we built a house. We bought a house in 6 months and we love it. Okay, you are the exceptions. Every story you tell me that worked out for you, I can tell you 20 bad ones. 20 bad ones. What are you doing looking for a pre-existing house? If you've been in Costa Rica for 2 months, I love it here. Oh my God, I'm gonna die here. And then within 7 months, you're like, what the hell did I just do? What the hell did I just do? So I think the biggest con is you don't need to buy anything anytime soon. There's a million places that are for sale. A million. I don't care it's a good deal. No, wait. You've only been here 4 months. You've only been here. Chill. I can tell you horror story after horror story. And I get them because the real estate thing, we also tell people if you want to sell your house, I'm going back to the States. I'm going back to Canada. I'm going back to the States. I'm going back to Canada. Can you help me? Can you help me? Can you help me? Well, maybe if you would have bought the damn thing, I wouldn't have to help you because
That's right.
Again, I just want to say, yes, there is exceptions. There always is. And the exceptions are the ones that screw it up because there are exceptions. And a lot of you probably are the exceptions. But just trust me when I say a lot of people aren't. They're the norm.
Right.
They're the ones that bought too fast and usually too much. And that's the other problem. Not only can't you sell it because you can't sell it, you bought it for too much and you're not going to get your money back.
And you didn't know any better because you were so excited about Costa Rica. You thought, what a deal. No, it wasn't a deal, but you thought it was.
And you didn't go to the relocation retreat that we have coming up March 3rd. If Costa Rica is on your radar, you want a crash course about how it is to live in Costa Rica, the relocation retreat might be for you. The good, the bad, the ugly of living in Costa Rica. Nobody's trying to sell you nothing. Nobody cares if you move here or not. But if you do want to and you want great information, that 6-7 day event might be for you. Now, me and Alan are separate, so we get a separate credit. So if you want to go to the relocation retreat and you want to sign up through me, I would love that. If you want to sign up through Alan, you've got to go to Alan's page. So we get credit.
And I'd love that.
That part is separate. But anyway, if Costa Rica is on your radar, just know that the relocation retreat, the next one is March 3rd. It's pretty full, but
it is pretty full. So if you want to go, you need to reserve your seat now so that you can make sure to attend. Okay.
We do. We've only had a law in people signing up because of Christmas. You know, people, their minds on Christmas and stuff. But I would suspect around January 9th or so, you might want to. Yeah.
Now, so anyway, here's this quick question here that someone asked. And of course, they said, I got my answer. Are there home inspector type of people in Costa Rica? A private service, people that work for the buyer with no reason to lie for a seller. Now, to my knowledge, I have yet to find a Tico business, maybe in San Jose, but I've yet to find any real home inspectors. Now, you got those retired people that I talk about, okay? Yeah, you could pay me to come inspect your house. You got a guy that's over at Jaco Playa Hermosa. So you can find some of those people if you research. But I haven't found a legit business. Keep in mind, if there is a legit Tico business that's being a home inspector, well, you have to understand that when they're inspecting it with the thought that it's functional. They're not inspecting it with the thought that, guess what, in Costa Rica, we don't have all of these standards that you're used to. And so I'm telling you, oh, yeah, it's got 5 cracks in the slab, but it's still functional. So I'm not going to tell you about that. Okay, so you have to understand it's a different mentality. Okay, and so, hey, to my knowledge, not that I know of.
I find it hard to believe that exists here. Now, if it does, it's only high end. It's only high-end people. Escazú, maybe a real estate agent knows somebody that does that, that's on the high-end market. But again, you're talking, this country is a lot of, very minimal structures, we'll say. And I just don't, because a Tico would never, just a regular Tico person, this is not a cut, isn't going to get that person. That's not what they just don't do that here. Now, somebody's spending, $2 million in Escazú, or in other locations, or that big condo on the beach, that might be a different story. But just for a regular job, I don't see anybody getting a whole lot of
right. Absolutely. And which brings up the whole point. Yeah, it's like you said, a Tico's not going to hire that person because it's functional. And it goes back to, if you buy an existing house, bar none, unless there's a rare exception, your septic system is not going to be installed right. Why is that? Because guess what? In Costa Rica, they install one kind of septic system. That's a 1-chamber septic system. Okay, 1 chamber. And guess what? It's functional. All my crap goes in there and it's functional, but it's not a proper septic system. So you will have problems with it. Okay. So when you buy an existing house, you're going to have issues. Now, what are some of the pros? Well, you can buy it and you can get moved in right now. That's the pro.
Well, the other pro would be if you do it right, if you try that pre-existing right with doing your due diligence, and you're surrounded by the right people. Yes, a lot of people don't really do that, but if you do it right, you can find very nice pre-existing Tico houses, modern houses, expensive houses. But again, that's all about due diligence and the people you surround yourself with. I think that can go very well. But I can tell you one thing, I've mentioned this numerous times, it's true. You are never going to find the perfect house for you. You just aren't. There's always an issue. There's always, and us Americans, people from the United States, whatever, are very particular. They think that when they see a house, it has to be perfect, and it's just not going to happen here. You know, it's just not going to happen. There's going to be, there might be a gravel road that's an eighth of a mile to the main freeway that you don't like the gravel, but you love the house. Well, then you're making a mistake, because if you like that, that's great. So that's a pretty good thing, because usually there's more than one thing you're not going to like about a house, you know, here. It's just the way it is. Unless, again, you're going, you know, $2 million and you have a reason to have high expectations. But normal, you know, 200, 300,000, 350 range, there's going to be something. There's going to be something. You don't like something.
Now, here's a good example that Rhonda put up there. You know, says we bought a land that had an old farmhouse on it that we didn't think was livable. Turns out it's in better shape than we thought, so we're going to renovate. And look, that is an option, because a lot of times if you stink and buy an existing house, it may be falling down, but you know what? It might have some good bones in it, you know. So you might can spend a little bit of money to renovate it, okay? And then you can correct some of those things. So it really just depends on how much DIY you can do for yourself in order to save some of that money, or whether it's like, maybe it ain't worth it. But hey, you got the land good enough that you can, you have that farmhouse, you could use it as a barn for storage, and you could build what you want, you know, and you don't have to build something grand. You can, so anyway, we'll talk about that. But anyway, that's definitely, like Michael said, hey, if you do your due diligence, you don't buy a piece of crap, but you'll never find the perfect place.
Right. So I would tell most people, I always kind of say, if you want to really buy, you're dead set at having your own property, most gringos should be buying a pre-existing as opposing to building.
Yeah, most people. Now, so let's get into building. I don't know if we should talk about that. We could talk about building and the horror stories of building for a whole hour, but here's the gist of it, okay? I'm not going to say that all of the contractors are crooked, okay? I'm just going to say that you will find more crooked contractors in Costa Rica than you will probably anywhere else in the world, okay? You can find crooked contractors anywhere in the world, okay? It's just that because Costa Rica is a poor country, they see Michael coming, they see me coming, we're stinking gringos, expats, immediately dollar signs go cha-ching, 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 and they're going to charge you a lot more than they would for a Tico. Here's a prime example. I had a buddy, I didn't know the guy. He came to one of our relocation retreats 2 times back. Okay. Well, he asked me to go look at a piece of property. We went and looked at a piece of property together and told him, you know, after looking at it and finding out what he wanted, I advised that this would be a great piece. You know, look at some others and decide. Well, he ended up buying it. Well, yeah, it's remote and it needs a road on it. Well, he contacts me later after getting his quotes, and he's like, "Hey, Alan, they gave me 3 quotes, and one was 35,000 or 30-something thousand, another 31 for 20,000, 21, you know, to build a road." I'm like, dude, are they going to lay the road with gold? I mean, don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. Okay. I went out there and looked at it, and I'm saving him $5,000, and I decided to get my men, and we're going to build the road for him. Okay. So why is it I was able to get a better deal? Well, number one, I'm honest. Number two, I have the right connections. So, you know, it's unfortunately, and look, and then they wanted to charge him $20,000 to put water on his property. Hey, how much did it cost you? Anywhere close to $20,000 to put water on D'Angelo's house over there, Michael?
No.
Would you even consider paying $20,000 to get water to your house?
They tried to do that, though.
Isn't that insane? Okay. So, and then they wanted to charge $20,000 to get electricity to his house. Well, that's just a crooked company. They're like, anything you want to do, you might as well just allocate $20,000. Hey, those horror stories are more common than not. And if you guys watch my channel on that build site in Jaco, guess what? As soon as we got there, he had one that they were working on. I inspected the pre-existing, they had already started building. And my recommendation was, you've already spent $100,000, tear it down. Tear it down. Why? Because he hired the wrong contractor. So those horror stories do exist when it comes to building in Costa Rica. Can you get one built right? Yes. You will pay for it.
You got to know
but you better make sure that you have somebody who has been to the United States, somebody that, you know, the whole reason they're building it is because they're looking out for you and not for them. there's nothing wrong with making a living at what you do. But whenever you're trying to make a killing, if you want all of Michael's pie, I don't want to make my own pie. I want all of your pie. I want, so you can get one built right. But dude, if you're going to get a house built right, you better have an inspector, a buildings and grounds inspector on the ground, or you better have a stinking gringo that is building it for you.
Well, Alan, I think you're being a little mean today. I don't think you did your breathing exercises, and obviously Rebecca's outside, not controlling you. I would say that contractors, lawyers, and taxi drivers are terrible anywhere in the world. So you already got to be careful of that. I don't think it's just a Chico thing. Go to the States.
You're right. I said that. They're everywhere.
Yeah, they're everywhere. So I'm going to group lawyers, taxi drivers, real estate agents, and contractors all in the same. But you're right about the horror stories with building. And again, if you don't know what you're doing, you shouldn't be doing it. And you better circle yourself with the right people. You're right. I mean, there is no other answer to that. That is the answer. If you do not have the right people, or you do not know anything about building anything, you're making a mistake. And it's always bad. It is always bad, because it's kind of human. If you're going to let people only do what you let them do to you, if you're just going to go, oh, it's really that much. Okay. Well, of course you're going to do it. That's, you know what? They'll do that anywhere. You can't help it when somebody gives you that opening, like whatever, they can't help but add a couple bucks. So you've got to circle yourself with the right people. And if you don't, you're going to get burned. And then that's why you're not going to be able to resell it. You're not going to be able to resell it, but you want to go back. And now you've got land and all this building you did because you were going to live here all your life and you wanted to give something to your kids. The building one is, I think, one of the worst ones, because some people think they can do it and they can't. That's an exception. That's another, actually, I would call it an exception. I don't even think it's really should be an option for most people. They shouldn't even think about that.
Well, wait a minute. I'm building my own house right now on my property, okay?
And you're an exception. But you're an exception. Yeah, and you know about it. That's
right.
Could you imagine?
And it's still hell.
And okay, well, the hell could be worse if you didn't know it was hell. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, so I don't know what's happening, what happened. And yeah, you find out it's hell. I've told this, these stories. There's just a million bad stories about that whole building. And there's a million stories about pre-existing. That's why the whole thing is contacts and the right people and kind of knowing what you're doing. And I love it when this is we talked about this before on another one, but the funniest thing is when somebody's having something built here, but they're not here.
Oh.
I just want to go, really? You're a dumbass.
It's like, get off of Facebook, stop complaining that you got screwed because they built it wrong, but you wasn't here.
I know, it's like, what? Now, again, is there an exception to that? Yes, you better have faith, a friend, a family member, someone that is in your best interest. Yes, that could happen. But 99% of the time, your ass should be here watching.
Well, that was about to happen to the guy that I'm telling you. Well, I can tell you already that I've saved him over $30,000 because he sent me an email and said, hey, tell me about this. Well, I saved him over $30,000 already. Okay. And he just didn't know any better. And he really wanted to hire me, but I wasn't available at the time. And he wanted my opinion. So I gave it to him. And he wasn't going to be here, and he really needed an inspector, but I understand fully. He trusted him. Oh, they seem honest. They seem so friendly. And that's what happened to me here whenever I came to this property. A guy that he'd been providing me internet. He was being such a nice guy. And so when it came time to building my tower to put up here, and he quoted me $11,000, I'm like, dang, that's a lot of money. You think that's high? That's not high. That's normal. Well, okay. I got through.
The best con men do seem honest. That's the problem. They're good at what they do. Obviously it happened to me. I'm not going to get into that story, but that's the people. They're always like that. They're your friend. Alan, where are you from? Really? I'm from Louisiana too. Oh my God. Do you like crawfish? Oh shit. You know, and you're like, hey man, I just met that dude. He's so nice, man. He's way cool. I think he's gonna help us out. Yeah, he's gonna help you out.
Yeah. Hey, big shout out to Uncle Chico. Anytime you want to support our channels, you can click that $sign and support it. You can go to Michal Alan's website and you can click on that support over there. But just big shout out to Uncle Chico. Thank you. Anyone that supports, we just greatly appreciate you being here.
We have done a total disservice, man. We are almost through, and we have not wished happy holidays, Merry Christmas, happy whatever the hell you do during this time.
That's because Michael doesn't celebrate Christmas. No.
Yeah, but you're right. But you know what? I do, and I respect everybody else with what they do. But what I do love about Christmas is anything that can bring friends and family together is a good thing. So yeah, maybe not, but I like going out to the center of La Fortuna in the park and watching families be together, friends being together, couple having some beers, having their kids run around. I like it for that, and anything that can bring family and friends together is cool. And that's it. So, but no, I don't necessarily celebrate, but I appreciate the season, so.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, I do celebrate Christmas. And of course, it was a much bigger thing whenever I had children here. But hey, I still love to do Christmas. Matter of fact, last night, Rebecca and I kind of did our Christmas dinner last night. And we did our Christmas dinner because it was Friday night, and so we sat by the fire. We made us a fire, and I had some fresh fish on the fire. We roasted marshmallows, and we had eggnog, and I had mine spiked. But we cooked some homemade eggnog, I said, well, it wasn't homemade eggnog. It was homemade out of a pack. So yes, indeed. And a lot of people have said Merry Christmas and Happy New Year's to all of you. So we're going to say Merry Christmas. We're not going to say Happy New Year's because you're going to see us next week. Next week, we'll be telling you Happy New Year's, right?
That's right. We will. Hey, man, it's almost my time. I want to thank everybody for hanging out with us. And when it's Christmas Eve day, man. So we appreciate you guys hanging out with us and listening to us and all your support, Uncle Chico. That's so sweet of you. And all the holiday stuff is great. So, Alan, are you going to be doing a private chat?
Yeah, there'll be a private chat. Go in there into the private chat and pull up that link.
It's not there.
People on your channel will have that. Yeah, click on private chat and you'll see the link.
No, there's nothing there, dude.
You sure? I'm going to stick it in there again.
No, it's not there. There it is.
Maybe it didn't show up because I stuck it in there earlier. I wonder how come. How weird, huh? So anyway, there's the link so that we will be doing Q&A right afterwards. So that we can address, because man, it was, this is such a huge topic. Should you rent? Should you buy existing? Should you build? And yeah, the building is going to be the most challenging one. But hey, I'll be answering questions more in detail, about those three things and, helping you to be able to, maybe get an idea. So we'll be answering questions. But hey, the link just went on there so you can join us for that. At the top of the hour, okay?
Alan, Rebecca, have a great Christmas day, and we'll see you next week, man. And anybody that's interested in joining Alan, and it's Rebecca too, right? Or just you?
Well, Rebecca, yeah, Rebecca's going to be joining. I didn't know if she's going to be joining or not because we'll be talking a lot of construction, but Rebecca says she is going to be joining us on the live Q&A.
That's because she saw how out of hand you were getting. She's like, she's got to calm you down. Anyway, guys, have a good one. Thank you, Alan. Ciao. Links in my comments. So anybody wants to visit, hang out with Alan and Rebecca, go there. And laters. Peace.
Thanks, Michael.
All right. Have a great one. Merry Christmas.
Yeah, you too.
All right, folks. In just a minute, if you're watching from my channel, you will automatically be redirected over to the live Q&A. And if you're not, then you can take and click on the link so that you can join the live Q&A. See you in just a moment.